Ooh. Hey everyone, welcome. My name's Holly Jones. I'm going to be your tour guide today. I just accidentally turned on my flash and I'm not sure how to turn it off, so I hope that you guys can see me okay. Maybe you can see me better with this light on. So I am here at the UT Gardens and I am a horticulturist here, as well as the event rental and social media coordinator. And I have been working here for about 8 years. I graduated from UT back in 2005 with a bachelor's degree in plant sciences, and I had a focus in public horticulture. After graduating, I moved to Santa Barbara, California, where I worked at Santa Barbara Botanic Garden, which specializes in native California plants, plants that are native to California. And I also worked with an environmental restoration group out there. And then my husband and I moved to Hawaii, and we lived on the island of Maui for about 5 years. And I got to do a lot of fun horticulture there as well. I worked on a lettuce farm. We grew mixed baby greens for resorts. And then I also worked at a variety of private estates. So it was excellent. I loved working there. I loved getting to work in a tropical environment that was totally different from, Tennessee, where I grew up. And I loved the people. It was great fun. But working at private estates was a little bit unfulfilling because the gardens were so immaculate and beautiful, but they were only available to a small group of people. So a small group of the elites got to enjoy the beauty. And so I was really inspired to want to work in a public garden, one that's accessible to all kinds of people. And so UT Gardens is a great fit for me because we're free and open to the public, and everybody can come here and get to enjoy the gardens. So I love working here. We moved back to Tennessee in about 2011, and I started working here at the gardens in 2012 as the kitchen garden manager. So, and since then, my position has evolved to a full-time position and more duties. So, yeah, it's a great honor to work here, and I really enjoy it. I want to tell you guys a little bit about the garden before we get started walking around. So the UT Gardens has been here since 1983, and it was first started as a research garden. So it was professors and students doing horticultural research. And since then, it's really grown into a full-scale botanic garden. So we have a really good education program. We do all kinds of workshops for the community. We do community outreach. And we have therapeutic horticulture programs, as well as we still do trials here. We trial annual flowers, annual plants, rose trials, as well as perennials. So different companies from around the United States send us new varieties to try, and we evaluate them and see how they perform here in our climate. So the garden, this garden is 10 acres. So if you think about the size of a football field, it's like 10 football fields. So it's pretty big. We have a lot of space here. And it was designated as the State Botanic Garden of Tennessee in 2013. So we have 3 gardens across the state. So we've got the one here in Knoxville, and then there's a UT Gardens in Crossville, which is sort of, somewhat west of here. And then there's another UT Gardens in Jackson, so way west Tennessee. So those 3 gardens spread out across the state make up the State Botanic Garden of Tennessee. And it's really good that we have those gardens all across the state because the climate is very different in East Tennessee than it is in, Middle Tennessee on the plateau or out in West Tennessee. So that way we're able to trial plants, across the width of Tennessee and really give Tennesseans good information about what plants will grow well in their specific area. So without further ado, let's walk around the garden. I'm going to flip the camera around so you can see the landscape, and I'll just continue narrating from the background. So right here we have our color garden, and this is a fairly new area in the garden. This is just our second year with having this garden, and the goal here was to showcase different blocks of color. So we wanted to look at specific colors and then be able to show people representations of that color. So whether it's, different shades of yellow, you might have yellow flowers, or you might have yellow leaves like this coleus. So really looking at all the different ways that you can have color represented in your garden. It is raining a little bit, so if I get totally stormed out, I'll have to run and take shelter, but it's just sprinkling a little bit right now, so I think we should be good. So we've got more coleus here, and this garden is sponsored by Ball Seed, and so they're a large horticultural company that develops different plant varieties. And so all of these plants come from Ball Seed and their associated companies. So these are all introductions that come through them. So we have lots of zinnias, coleus. These awesome big elephant ears here are called Thailand giants. And we just added these just to have a touch of continuity. So we've got the Thailand giants that are dispersed, all throughout the color garden, which borders our grand lawn. So these were grown from seed this year, and so it's amazing how fast they grow. They can get up to 6 to 8 feet tall and wide. As we're walking here, so on this other side, you guys can see our perennial border. And this is a collection of perennial plants that come back year after year. And we play around with different color combinations. And in the background here, I wanted to point out this beautiful artwork. So you can see, I don't know if you can see the color very well, but it's a dogwood. And it's part of our Art in the Gardens project. So I'll get a little closer. So this is a project that we started about 3 years ago, and it's a way to engage the community and raise money for the gardens. So we have a different form every year. The first year we had a hummingbird, the next year we had a butterfly, and this year we did the iconic dogwood form. And so we had 37 different artists who decorated these forms all in different ways, and this one's pretty cool. She used these are little pieces of pine cone to make the center of the dogwood, and then she painted them. So the artists donate the pieces to the garden, and we have an outdoor art show all summer long, and then at the end of the summer we have an auction, and we will auction off the pieces. So if anybody's looking for garden art, you might check that out. The auction is actually coming up on August 31st, and this year it is going to be a virtual auction, so it'll be online. This piece is really nice. It's like a classic representation of our native dogwood. This one was actually made by my dad and my stepmom. So it's a good one. So walking along here, you can see we have our rose garden, and this is one of our first gardens to be endowed. So it's the Bell Family Rose Garden, and it does have an endowment, so we're able to keep it really nice, and it's keep the roses really well groomed. and I'm going to show you all a few of our beautiful roses, because I noticed some of these are looking huge. This one is called Pink Flamingo, and you can see it's got some nice raindrops on it. But we also have koi ponds here in the rose garden. And this is a waterfall. And we got the nice gazebo here. So this is a good spot for weddings, special events. You can see off in the distance there, that is our friendship pavilion. And we have a class that's meeting in there today. And it's pretty cool that we've been able to offer outdoor space to some of the professors to be able to hold their classes, you know, in person, but outdoors. So that's working out well. So I'm going to take you all over to our kitchen garden, because like I said, I first started working here in the kitchen garden, so it's really near and dear to my heart, and I want to show you all around there. But here are some more nice roses on the way. This one's called My Sponge Cherry Parfait. Ooh la la. So we have a few sections that we're not going to visit, but I'll just tell you about them. Down on sort of the lower half of the garden, we have an incredible hosta garden with over 500 selections of hosta. So it's a shade garden. And we also have our wetlands. And so these are constructed wetlands that were created by a professor in biosystems engineering. And it used to be a problem area for us because it would, when the rains would come, we have poor drainage down here in the lower part of our lawn, and it was really hard to mow, and it was always really muddy. And so this is a situation where we turned, you know, lemons into lemonade. Instead of fighting it, let's turn it into a wetland. And so she worked with, got some grants, and they put in rubber liners into 3 ponds and put in a boardwalk, and now they're just filled with rainwater, but they work really, really well to create habitat for frogs and lizards and dragonflies, and we have a lot of native plants planted around the wetlands, and there's a boardwalk that goes out through the center of one of them. So that's a nice feature here. So here we are in front of the kitchen garden, and this has been a great success this year. I've been working with a volunteer who we grew an edible flower garden. So all of these flowers that you can see here are edible. We have zinnias, we have gomphrena, we have dahlias and daylilies, lemon verbena, sweet williams, and herbs. And you can take all of these and eat them. They're all edible. So we put on a class recently where we made some cookies with candied zinnia petals, and we looked at making some teas with some of these flowers. But you can see that they're mixed in with some shrubs. And so this used to be a lawn area, and I've slowly been converting it into a perennial fruit orchard. So we're growing, you know, woody food producing plants that are going to continue to produce year after year, and we're integrating them in with pollinator friendly annual flowers, just for interest and to attract pollinators. And here's another one of our pieces from the Dogwood Show. Look at that sweet little bunny. So, and this is our kitchen garden. If y'all are familiar with UT Gardens, you've probably heard of the purple garden, and that is our kitchen garden. It's a fenced-in garden that is, it has about 55 raised beds in it, and we grow annual vegetables, cut flowers, herbs, small fruits, and it's all grown with sustainability in mind. So we're minimizing inputs, composting, minimizing the use of herbicides and pesticides, and growing a lot of food. This year we have committed to donate all of our produce to area food banks, and so that's been really great. We've been able to donate over 275 pounds of produce to the Society of St. Andrews, and then they distribute it out to different food banks and kitchens around Knoxville that are in need. So you can see we've got some okra here. This is a beautiful variety called Candle Fire. And we've got some beautiful sunflowers. We got some white garlic chives blooming, all kinds of peppers and okra and tomatoes and cucumbers and beans are still happening from our spring and summer plantings, and we're starting to transition to some fall plantings as well. So this bed, you can see we've got some baby turnips coming up in there, and some I don't know if you can see them, but there are some really small onions in there as well. So these are some of our perennial food producing plants that we have inside the kitchen garden. We've got some native hazelnuts here, as well as some figs. We've got all kinds of vines growing on our arbor. So we're doing 2 kinds of muscadines, and this one is always really fun to look at. This is a Arctic kiwi, and if you can see the kiwi fruit, so that is a legit kiwi, and you can eat these skin and all, and they are hardy down to negative 40 degrees, so they'll grow really well for us here. And when you break them open inside, it's just like a fuzzy kiwi, and they have more vitamin C than an orange. So yeah, that's our kitchen garden. We've also got blackberries, raspberries. We've got the other side here. We're doing some Chinese cabbages for a fall planting. We are doing cover cropping in here as a way to feed our soil. Sorry if there's an interruption there. I had a phone call. I didn't think about that happening. We've got mint in containers. We're also doing composting inside our raised beds. So I get really excited about building soil. And so we've got these raised beds. We want to keep the soil really, really nice. And so ways that we do that are by adding compost, making compost. So I bet y'all didn't think you'd be seeing this, but I'm going to show you our compost pile. And it's just been freshly turned, but we build our piles inside the raised beds. And that way, once the compost is broken down, we just have a beautiful, rich soil left behind in the bed. And this bed over here had a cover crop in it. And you can see some baby kohlrabi plants that have been planted down in there. So we'll be getting some kohlrabi soon. So from here, I'm going to walk down to our Monarch Way Station. The rains came, so I'm not sure how many butterflies we'll see, but we will try to find some. On the right, you can see this is our rose trials. So we do not spray these roses or prune them because we're really trying to see, put them to the test to see what would they do with no care at all. So they're grown for 2 year. I think these are 2-year trials, and then evaluated at the end of the 2 years. And on this side we have our herb spiral, which is a collection of herbs. And this long strip here in front is a strawberry trial. So we work a lot with the extension program, and we work a lot with master gardeners. And one of the leaders of the statewide master gardener program is doing this strawberry trial here. So we've got 5 different kinds of June-bearing strawberries, and these were all planted this spring, and then we'll do a comparison next year and see how well each one produces, and see if there's any flavor variations in flavor, and look at disease resistance. So lots of good strawberries. And this area is a tea garden that's just getting started. So tea plants, like, a nice glass of iced tea or hot tea, that comes from a camellia. So these leaves right here are Camellia sinensis leaves, and that is where we get tea. So I am experimenting with some different hardy Camellia sinensis varieties to see which ones will grow best for us here in Tennessee. And we're gonna brew up some green tea and some roasted tea as well. So we're almost down here to our monarch way station. Here's another dogwood. This one is a beetle. This one is called Atlas beetle. And our coneflowers are blooming. This is Little Henry. Oh, I think this is Henry Eilers. It's a really nice perennial flower. So lots of spots to sit in the shade and enjoy nature. We're down here at the far end of the garden, close to Third Creek now. And this is our monarch way station. And this garden was put in just earlier this year. And the concept here is to support monarchs on their journey. So, monarch butterflies migrate during the course of their life. And so all along their journey, they need resources. So there's a trend right now to build these monarch way stations, or fueling stations for monarch butterflies. And so we have created one here. We were funded through the UT Student Environmental Initiatives Fund, and this garden was inspired by our participation in Bee Campus USA initiative. So but this garden is sort of taking it to the next level. So we have a lot of butterfly weed, which is what the baby monarch caterpillars like to eat. So lots of Asclepias. But also lots of other flowers as well. So it becomes not only a place for monarch butterflies, but also just for all kinds of birds and bees and other important pollinators. And here is one last beautiful dogwood. So with that, I'm going to sign off. If anyone has any questions, you can feel free to email us. Please, my email is hjones3@utk.edu, and I would say please follow us on Facebook, and we're also on Twitter and Instagram. And if you can come out to the gardens and walk around, we invite you. Please come visit soon, and we hope to see you soon. And thank you very much for having me.